Hey everyone, I'm Anya Esma, and today we are going to unbox the White Numen Tarot Special Edition in this fancy, wonderful blue golden box. It was very kindly sent to me by Liminal 11, who are the publishers who published the White Numen Tarot, and they made this amazing special edition. Hey, it's Anya from the future, and I have some bad news and some goodish news. I stalled for a long time and procrastinated on editing this video. I filmed it in July, I believe, and am now in September finally uploading it, which means, unfortunately, the limited edition, the special edition that I'm showing you is sold out. But the good news is, one, you still have the walkthrough of the deck, which if you have the White Numen deck or are thinking about purchasing the normal edition, this video is still going to be interesting to you, or if you just like to hear me ramble, as some people do. And secondly, Liminal 11, which is the publisher, they have a lot of other really awesome special editions. So if you really feel like you need a special edition with some additional goodies, then go look at their website, because they have like seriously beautiful special editions, and I feel like they put a lot of work into every single one of them. And it's kind of unique stuff. Like, for example, in the Cosmic Slumber Tarot, you have like a proper standing up stained glass card print that you can put on your altar or wherever you want for decoration. And they also have the Seed and Sickle Oracle special edition at the moment, which kind of has like autumnal vibes, which is very, very fitting for the season if you're watching this at the time of upload. So just check out their store basically. And I hope that you enjoy this video anyways. I'm going to show off all the goodies in the special edition so you can see the quality and know that the special editions are really worth it for Liminal 11. But yes, and then at the end, I'm just gonna run you through the tarot deck, and we're gonna look at all of the symbolism and all of that good stuff. So I hope that you enjoyed the video. I'm gonna put a link to the Liminal 11 shop down below, and also to the normal edition of the White Numen Tarot, because obviously you can still buy that. And yes, thank you, enjoy the video. I'm going to go through every item that is in it with you, including the bonus oracle deck, though I will not be showing all of the cards. And yes, that's right, it has a bonus oracle deck, which I find amazing. This is an oracle deck that is only in this special edition. And we're just going to look at a few cards together, not go through it all the way. And then we are going to look through every card in the White Numen Tarot special edition with golden edges, and I will just do my thing and talk about symbols and all the good things, so you can think about whether you want that deck, whether it resonates with you, whether it is something you might want. I'll look through these things pretty quickly so we have enough time to really focus on the tarot deck. So first of all, we have the certificate that it's a legitimate copy, one of the 1,111 copies of the special edition that was made. Then you have a tarot cloth that has symbols on it that also reoccur in the tarot deck. So you have the 4 suits, the chalice, the sword, the pentacle, and the wand. And you also have a snake symbol here and an eye in the middle. So it's a very, very cool tarot cloth to play with. And it feels really sturdy as well. And then we have this little pouch, velvety red, and it has the initials of the tarot deck, so the White Numen on the front as well. It's kind of giving me Harry Potter vibes with both the golden embroidery and the velvety red feel. Then we have a few stickers, which also are symbols from the tarot deck partly, that you can just slap in your journals or on your computer or wherever you like to put your stickers. And then very sweetly wrapped, we have 2 prints of the additional cards that are in the White Numen Tarot. So there are 2 additional cards besides the 78 tarot cards, and these are just high quality, larger prints of them, which is very sweet. I think this also goes very well into like a journal. You could also use it as a bookmark, I suppose, if you wanted to. Just feel free to do whatever, or you can put it on your altar if you have an altar. And now we're going to get into the Oracle deck, which is not going to be easy to take out with these nails. I didn't consider that. Give me a minute. So these are the two decks that are in it, the Oracle and the White Numen itself, that we are going to get through in just a minute. I promise you this Oracle deck is not actually hard to get out of that box. It's just because of my nails that I was struggling. And actually the White Numen itself came out pretty easily. Anyways, so here we have the Golden Constellation Oracle deck. I'm just going to throw like 2 or 3 cards at you so you have an impression of what it's like. A lot of them are constellations, and they kind of have like golden highlights in them as well. So this is what the cards look like, really beautiful, and it comes with a guiding journal as well that has a few sentences written about every single card, and I really like that because I feel like in the end your intuition can do a lot, but sometimes you just need some words for inspiration, and a little booklet like this is perfect for that. So it's an Oracle deck I'm definitely going to use and definitely going to work with, and I'm really happy that I have it because I've never had like a special edition of a tarot deck. I'm sure you all have had many, many special editions because I know there are many tarot collectors out there. But this is like the first time that I even have one, and the fact that it has an exclusive Oracle deck is really, really cool. The creator made this Oracle deck, I think it has 31 cards because she drew it in Inktober last year, and this is the only print of it that exists basically, and I think that's really cool as a little bonus in this special edition. Okay, enough of all the other goodies in there. Let's talk about the White Numen. First of all, the box is super, super, super sturdy. It opens at the bottom with a magnet, which I find interesting because I'd be afraid that it falls out, but it really doesn't. It's very, very solidly made. And then you pull out the deck. I haven't looked at it yet at all because I want this to be like a fresh first impressions. It has the gilded edges, which the normal edition does not have, only the special edition. So that's another bonus thing you get if you get the special edition, besides all of the other bonus stuff I showed you. And you have the White Numen little help book as well. Can't call it a little white book because it has this beautiful, I don't even know how to describe the color. I guess it's pink, but it's not quite pink. So I think the colors in this deck are super, super nice. Like they are kind of not primary colors, but they are very striking. They are not quite neon, not quite pastel. I'm not an artist, as you can plainly tell, because I don't know how to describe these colors, but I really like it, and I really like how they harmonize together as well. So first things first, I haven't seen many of the cards. One funny thing though is that the other day, I was scrolling through Instagram and I saw a High Priestess card that I really, really liked. I was like, wow, which one is this? And then I scroll down and in the description it says it's the White Numen, and I'm like, huh, I have to unbox that. I have that deck. That is like the coolest realization. You see something on Instagram and you already have it. All right, so first of all, let's go through the little book for a second. Very nicely illustrated with a long foreword too, by the creator. Oh, and then you have like a tiny image of every card, which I always love and appreciate when it's not just written like High Priestess, blah, 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 but it actually has the card in it again in like a mini version, because I love mini versions of everything. And it just has some explanations. Oh, now I'm already seeing the cards and I'm getting excited. Let me read you one just so you have an idea of what this booklet is about. So let's read Justice. Keywords: truth, severity, responsibility. Justice is sitting before 2 columns representing the essential balance of the duality which supports our moral system. She looks down with serenity as she already knows what direction you are going to take. She does not fear her decisions that will result. In the middle, hanging from the columns, there is a veil symbolizing the mysterious nature of that duality. In one hand, she holds a scale with which she measures our acts, acts that always carry consequences, and in the other hand, she holds a huge sword embedded into the ground, representing stability and the ability to make bold decisions. Justice may appear harsh, but remember, she is always fair. Loving the sword already. I'm not going to look too deeply into this. Let me just see the index real quick to see if there are also, yeah, so you have a foreword, introduction, major arcana, minor arcana, reading the tarot, spreads, and extra cards. Awesome. So the extra cards are in the back as well as interpretations, and you also have tarot spreads. Path to the Sorcerer, Bond of the Numen, 4-card spread, 1-card spread. I like that. All right, so let's actually get into the deck now. Let me clean up this table a bit because it's making me nervous that there's so much stuff lying around. Okay, let's jump into the deck. Since it has gilded edges, it has that kind of sticky feeling where you have to bend it a little bit in order to make it usable. I love that noise. All right. So let's start off with the Fool. I don't know yet if I'm going to go through literally every card. I'm just going to see what is striking to me about the cards. With the Fool, we have a very interesting, different interpretation here because she is standing not on a cliff, but in a desert with a few jackals around her, I would say. Let me see if they are jackals. Maybe it says in the little guidebook. I like it. I just took a peek in the guidebook and it said she is surrounded by the animals who were the first to bond with humans. So it is actually dogs or wolves in that case. So I think that is a very interesting thing I've never thought about with the Fool, because most of the time the dogs that are next to the Fool are like tiny little puppies and look very, very domesticated. And here we have a bit more of a wild approach to the depiction of the wolves slash dogs. And I like that. It gives it back that kind of primordial idea of having a bond with an animal. In this case, wolves or dogs, which humans domesticated. Basically, I have no idea when, honestly. My history is not that good. I was going to say in the Stone Ages, but I don't think people in the Stone Ages were able to domesticate dogs. So whoever knows, let me know when dogs were first domesticated. And yeah, so I think it has that connection back to the roots of humanity and back to when our own nature was maybe more primal or more instinctual, and then combining it with the instinctual nature of dogs. So I really like that idea in the Fool here. She's not in danger. The person is not in danger, unlike usual Fool cards that are stepping off of a cliff. The person is actually just chilling there, holding a blue flower and kind of being surrounded by wind, thinking about where they want to go. And I really like that. It's more of a thinking about what step you want to take. And I feel like the person looks like they're very, thinking about what they will do next in an intuitive way. And the wind kind of symbolizes the divine nature of whatever inspiration is going to come to the person. And then they're going to decide where they take their next step based on their intuition and based on the protection from their instinctual nature symbolized by the dogs or the wolves in this. Really like it. The Magician, also an interesting depiction because I feel like he has more of the wandering magician's vibe than the one standing at the table, usually standing at the table with all the 4 suits in his hands. That's not the case here. There's definitely a wand with a snake around it, but I don't see any of the other ones. I guess you could say the pentacle is around his neck, but what I do find interesting is the symbolism of this wand where the top is kind of man-made and made of metal or very refined wood, and the bottom is kind of raw wood with a snake. So you have this combination of artificial, human-made energy and also a more natural energy coming into the equation here with the magician, showing both the more natural aspect of magic and maybe the more refined aspect of magic, the more pompous aspect of magic, if you want to talk about ceremonial magic or occult magic kind of being represented by the top here. Maybe I'm interpreting too much into it, but you know me, that's kind of my thing. We have the normal infinity symbol above his head, and he's just walking, surrounded by animals. Interesting. He kind of has that wandering magician's vibe. Let's go on. High Priestess. I hope YouTube doesn't like censor this video. We shall see. I'm not going to hold my hand over her boobs. Come on. So we have the High Priestess here. I love her because I kind of love her bitchy face almost. And unlike the usual High Priestess, she's not in front of two columns protecting water, but she is in the water. There was another deck that this was the case with. It was a Japanese tarot deck that I also did an unboxing with, where there was one card, one version of the High Priestess that had her feet in the water, or was even, yeah, like kneeling in the water. And she is just lounging in it. She's fully in it. So she almost gives me Empress vibes, but in a more sensual, sorceress kind of way. You know, with the Empress, you have this idea of responsibility, of birthing something, giving form to something in reality, and caretaking of reality. Whereas with this High Priestess, I feel like you have more of an air of being connected to her emotions, like the Queen of Cups as represented by the water, but also having very firm boundaries, kind of knowing that she is a high spiritual person because she is a High Priestess. So she can basically do what she wants. That's kind of the vibe that I'm getting from this. And in the background, you have kind of stylized the usual pomegranates. Now let's talk about the Empress. Oh, I love that. She looks like a true empress. She has the stars over her head. Usually, I believe it's 11 or 12 stars representing something. What do the stars above the empress represent? I forgot, guys. Help me. It looks like she is in the clouds, and she really looks like an empress. She looks like she's about to go into battle, or she has some sort of martial approach to conquering the world, basically. She's not the usual kind of boring pregnant lady sitting somewhere, and you know if you go to her, she always has food, she takes care of you. She has a lot more powerful energy than that, this Empress, and is carrying that outwards. She also has this determined look on her face, kind of like the High Priestess, and is dressed in very colorful and very thick, warm clothing, which to me signifies that it's like a lot of layers of protection, basically, like usually a queen or an empress would wear in order to protect herself from possible attacks or anything that could happen to her. We have this here as well. So this card is more down the line of protect yourself to stand in your power as a person conquering whatever goals you want to achieve. So it's a very interesting Empress. I love it. The Hierophant, very female representing in this deck, which I like. So you have the Hierophant, and next to the person you have again two dogs or jackals or wolf-like looking creatures. This is actually giving me more High Priestess vibes. The High Priestess, I feel, was very much the sorceress archetype of having control, knowing of her power and using it how she wants to. Whereas the Hierophant is more like upholding tradition or upholding the integrity of magic or of religion or of belief or faith or whatever you want to call it. And she is actually sitting in front of two pillars like the traditional High Priestess does. So with this Hierophant, we have a different approach to that. And we have a crown made of nature as well, made of leaves. So we have the connection to nature, and with the artificial staff, once again, we also have the refinement that humans bring to nature well, we don't just bring refinement, we also bring many terrible things. But you know what I mean. We have this more natural aspect and this more artificial aspect coming together with this Hierophant. And it's not as exclusionary as the normal Hierophant, where there's people like praying to the Hierophant basically and wanting to be blessed by them, kind of like the Pope. Whereas here we have a more calm approach to it, and the person looks accessible. They look like they have integrity, but at the same time are open to dishing out wisdom. So I like that a lot. I'm not going to go through every single card because that will take forever. So I'm going to skip some. So you will have to explore the deck yourself. The Chariot, you know that this is one of my favorite cards in a lot of decks because it is my soul card, but many, many times I'm not very happy with the depiction of it. So let's dive in and see how I like it. So first of all, we have very cute little white birds and a monster going through the ocean, or probably water, the ocean, I would say, swimming along with someone in the riding seat on top of it. Now that person is holding a sword and has a very, very big backpack. So it's giving me merchant vibes, like someone who is trying to trade, someone who is maybe selling fruits, you can see, selling vegetables, or selling whatever is in the backpack. Someone who is traveling a lot and has a lot of luggage. That is usually a merchant, at least in most fantasy stories, because anyone else who travels wouldn't carry all that stuff with them. So I kind of like it because you have this bond between the swimming monster thing and the birds and the merchant all kind of working together to achieve success and alignment. And it's a lot more laid back than other Chariot cards, because I think unlike most Chariot cards, which are like, okay, you have to be very focused on your goal, everything has to be in alignment, your willpower, your actions, all has to be aligned in order for you to achieve your goals. Whereas with this one, I feel like it's more like, okay, you can work towards your goal without always having to hustle. If you have the right support, if you have the right people or animals in this case, or monsters around you, then you can achieve things without necessarily having to grind all the time. You also have these periods of just traveling along the path and staying the path, basically. So I really like this Chariot. The Strength card I love because they both look sad. Usually you have a lion, in this case it's a tiger. Both, I would say, are representations of our shadow, or of the shadow sides that are maybe a bit wild about us, that we don't have control over. And strength is the point where you gain control, where you learn to handle your own weaknesses or your own impulses or anger or whatever it is, whatever problematic emotion or shadow part of yourself. You're learning to handle it, and you're learning to be friends with it, basically. Not control it necessarily, but be friends with it. And here I feel like this kind of represents a moment of intense shadow work. I love the red colors in it because both look sad. The person hugging the tiger looks sad. The tiger itself looks sad. And she also, of course, has the infinity symbol over her head, like usual with a strength card. So I feel like it's a very alchemical moment. Something is changing, some emotion is coming up, which I find interesting because usually there's not much emotion in this card. It's more like, hey, I'm friends with this lion now. And here you have this process of maybe becoming friends with it, seeing the pain in the shadow aspect, seeing the pain in the tiger and caring for it, and integrating it like you would with a shadow. Once you understand where it's coming from, you are able to integrate it. And this is what I feel this card very strongly represents, that there might be a need for you to have more compassion for your shadow and have more, basically be approachable for your shadow and approach your shadow as well, to have some compassion for the problematic emotions that you might be feeling, or the things that you want to push out of your character a little bit. Now we have the Hermit, and this is actually not a person. It's, what do you call this in English? In German we call it Elch. I guess a moose, right? I know there's moose, but there's one more thing as well that has a similar name. I'm blanking as always on some English words here. Anyways, so you have that, and then what I would interpret to possibly be an eagle perched on the moose's shoulder, and also a snake. We once again have the staff where the snake is going around it. Wheel of Fortune. Now I want to say something. Everyone knows that I also have the Goddesses and Sirens Oracle deck, which is full of naked women. And I don't mind that. I know there are some people who have an issue when decks have too many naked women in them, and like no naked men, or maybe no men at all. I'm not one of those people. I understand where that issue is coming from, but when it comes to personal preference, it's not an issue for me. It is imagery that speaks to me more than seeing naked men anyways. So I like that. But that is a personal thing. So if you are someone who wants to see a lot of different representation in a tarot deck, like different gendered representation, and that really matters to you, then this deck might be a little bit out there for you. But I still think it's absolutely beautiful with beautiful coloring, and it is exactly the kind of imagery I personally like. So that's what I can say to that. So we have the Wheel of Fortune here, and the person is holding a knife, which I really like. There's a lot of knives in this. I'm kind of getting Princess Mononoke vibes. I really love it. And then you have a circle behind with some symbols saying tarot, like the usual Wheel of Fortune does. And you have also the symbol for Sagittarius, and the symbol for, I actually can't tell if that is supposed to be Virgo or Capricorn, but usually Virgo would look like this. Interesting. I don't know why those two were chosen. I don't think I've seen those highlighted on a Wheel of Fortune card. If you have thoughts about that, let me know. Justice. I think this is going to be one of my favorite cards. I already read the description of this in the beginning, so I'm not going to talk about it too much, but I'm getting strong warrior vibes here. I love the huge sword. I love the scales as well that look like little moons. I do have to say that her face looks kind of exasperated, as if you've made another bad decision in your life, and she's like, ugh, oh man, another one. Then we have the Hanged Man, very, very colorful. This almost makes me feel like it's a One Piece character or something. Like it's that style that I've only really seen in One Piece, where you have people, but they look like caricatures of people. And this is what I see here. So it's like a bulky person hanging from the clouds, which I feel like the clouds here are very similar to the ones in the Empress card. So there might be a connection going on here. Obviously, the Hanged Man, if you take the 12 and do 2 plus 1, you get 3, which is the Empress. So that's interesting. So there's like obviously a connection between the two. I wonder if that is the case with other cards in this deck as well, that the imagery kind of connects if you break down the numbers. Death. What a card. She has long black nails. Death has to have long black nails. I love that. So the person is on a horse here, and there's a lot of I don't know what you call these, like stone towers that I suppose you have in some deserts and some regions, and they are riding through it. They are not actively taking people out, which in most other death cards it is like that. You know, there are dead people lying around. Sometimes you even have a battlefield, or it seems like it's a family and someone is crying and death is coming to sort of take that person. But in this card, it is just in nothingness, basically. There's a red sun in the background, and it's just pure death energy, rather than having this idea of someone died literally and they are taking them. Rather than that, you have the pure idea of death, the idea of renewal, the idea of change coming into your life in a very real way. And I like that. I like the intensity of the black and the red sort of showing the change that is coming, while the person doesn't look angry or scary. They just look like hey, it's time for that change. And I really, really like that. The Tower. Interesting. So here, I assume this is sort of a representation of Goliath because the person looks oversized. Like there's a pillar in the background and the person is kind of almost as big as the pillar. Could be wrong, but they look big. So I feel like this is kind of that Goliath feeling of a huge person being destroyed, being taken down. Could be completely wrong. Maybe it's just a normal person, but they look oversized to me. So that's an interesting thing. I've never seen that. Usually it is a literal tower being torn down, representing the powers that you have been trying to hold back coming out to get you, basically, like whatever you were suppressing coming out and destroying whatever you built because you were not mindful of building on a stable basis. You didn't build your mental health or your life on a stable basis. So over time, the things you suppressed come and tear down parts of whatever you have built for yourself. That is what the Tower represents most of the time. And here we have this idea in a personified form. Very interesting. The Star. What I like, I don't want to go too deep into this card, but I like the serenity in these cards. You just see that she's enjoying herself. You have these golden colors, the calming blue. I feel like the colors are seriously the most artisan thing about this deck, the use of colors. Now here we have the Moon. Very cool. It's just two, again, dog, wolf, fox, jackal creatures. They actually look more like foxes in this case. And they are jumping in a desert that kind of looks similar to the one that the Death card was in. So that is interesting. Once again, no humans in this card. And just this wandering around. They look a little bit crazy. I feel like the red things around them could signify some sort of confusion or impulse or anger or exhaustion, something like that, because they both don't look very happy. One is jumping, the other is sort of looking around confusedly. So I think it's a good representation of searching, of something instinctual within yourself, trying to search for something, trying to find something, trying to develop. And that is really what the Moon is about, something mystical going on, something that you can't quite put your finger on, here represented by these creatures, which stand for that sort of instinctual or impulsive behavior, and you can't quite control it. Kind of like the tiger in the Strength card. Interesting Judgment card. Let me know your thoughts about this. Often Judgment is about a higher calling, which I think, I don't know how to squeeze that into this card, but it feels like this person has just made some major life decision and looks like maybe they are in the middle of a ritual to finish that off, to set it in stone, this change that they have decided to make. So I feel like this could be a very cool representation of, if you draw it, a representation of, hey, you should be doing a ritual. Maybe you have made a decision, you have some change in your life, do a ritual for it. Then we have the World card, a person with stars in their hair holding flowers very abundantly. I like it. I like it a lot. I don't have much to say about it. All right, so let's get into the minor arcana and the suits. I've chosen 4 cards from the Wands to start with. First of all, the 4 of Wands. Interesting depiction because it's not very celebratory. It almost looks like maybe there is some solemn occasion going on. Usually with the 4 of Wands, you have this idea of celebrating your wins and having a happy ceremony to mark something happy. But this, once again, might be a reminder that even for sad things, even for something like deaths or something sorrowful happening, you can use and harness that 4 of Wands energy and make a ritual or make a ceremony in order to help you deal with the loss or the sorrow or whatever is happening, in order to deal with it better. So I really like that idea. With the 5 of Wands, we again have this ceremonial feeling. I'm really seeing this going through the whole deck. Usually the Five of Wands has people battling, but here you can feel some sort of tension, but at the end of the day, they look like they are just doing some sort of ceremony or something, again, solemn is going on. So very different. Whereas with the Seven of Wands, we have more of a depiction that I would see in the Five of Wands, which is an open combat. Usually the Seven of Wands show like one person being above the other. Here you have both people being kind of on par with each other and being equal. In a lot of the Wands cards, you have red fire. This Queen of Wands has blue fire, which is really badass. I love it. And she is just dressed in like gold and really pompous and really, I don't know, impressive. She's like an impressive personality. And I really like this depiction. She's looking away to the side, sort of signifying her superiority. And I feel like, especially if you are working with archetypes or with the energies of tarot cards, this could be a powerful card to say, hey, I put this on my altar in order to gain that energy, in order to embody that energy of the Queen of Wands here. One thing about the aces, by the way, is that they all seem to have a lot of hands grabbing for that symbol, which I find super interesting. Usually it's like one hand sort of giving you the energy in the aces, and here you have many hands trying to get at it. So I feel like you have this idea of competitiveness. I don't feel like it's the idea of there's enough for everyone. It's more like everyone wants this energy. So if you draw an ace in this deck, I feel like it's not maybe just telling you, hey, there's a dose of this energy being given to you, like in other decks, but rather maybe it is that collectively many people are in search of this energy now, and either you can support them or you have to secure that energy for yourself a little bit. All right, so with the cups, again, I chose some cards that I want to speak about. First of all, the Three of Cups. Again, these ceremonial approaches really speak to me that the artist has here, because again, it looks like a sacred ceremony rather than people getting drunk together, which usually I associate with the Three of Cups, like just three people having fun, essentially drinking with each other and just, you know, having fun and enjoying themselves. But here they all look serious and they are floating on the water, and I'm getting, I don't know, I'm getting this kind of Avatar: The Last Airbender vibe from a lot of this deck, because it's very, very focused on the magic and the power of elements. Not so much how these elements like manifest in our physical reality, but more about how you can literally work with them. And I think it pokes your fantasy in a way, because a lot of the time I think we don't use enough fantasy when it comes to, no, that's not true, but sometimes we don't use enough fantasy when it comes to magic or witchcraft or tarot. And this really brings in that magical aspect of working with water in a very real way and a very fantastical, magical way, even if it's just in your imagination. So I really like that about this deck, that it brings this magical, elemental aspect to it. Then we have the Five of Cups, spilling some water into the ocean, standing either on the side of the ocean or on a little island or in the ocean itself, and just basically giving it back to the ocean. Interesting idea. I think in a way this has a more positive meaning to me than the normal Five of Cups, because the normal Five of Cups is like, okay, you are grieving, you have to grieve. But in this case, it's more like letting go of something that just doesn't serve you anymore, some emotion or some, basically giving back an emotion that kind of doesn't serve you anymore, and pouring it back into the ocean of all emotions, and thus reintegrating it with the larger picture rather than obsessing over it. So that's what I feel like the cups here represent, like maybe emotions that you were obsessed with and that you are now pouring back into the world, into the air, basically, into the ether, and letting go of them this way. Once again, very ritualistic and very ceremonial. I feel like half the time I use this deck, I'm going to be inspired to do a ritual about something. Then we have the Six of Cups. I just wanted to show that because it has a little baby goat and it's very cute. I feel like all the Cups cards are very dark and, dark blue and kind of threatening in nature. I find that interesting. It's almost like they are underwater. And now with the Ten of Cups, we once again have this community of people coming together in a ceremony. I feel like it's the extension of the Three of Cups, essentially, showing that if you take steps within a community, if you, I don't know, not even do literal ceremonies or rituals together, but if you make important life steps together as a community, celebrate them together, like the Four of Wands as well, celebrate them together and mark those occasions, it can be beneficial and end in this beautiful Ten of Cups depiction. So with the sword, one theme that I want to talk about is blindness. In the Two of Swords, in like traditional tarot and in the Eight of Swords, we have blindfolds being involved. And in this case, the people just have white eyes, kind of signifying blindness. So with the Two of Swords, we have a person who is kind of juggling, is it called juggling? I think so, juggling knives, which is interesting, or at least she's throwing one of them up. And there is wind, there is an ocean behind her, but there are also little birds sitting on her shoulder, signifying some sort of wisdom. So it's not necessarily like the Two of Swords where you are blind to something, but it's more that you have learned to handle your blind spots and your blindness and are able to still stand in your power. So that's what I see in this Two of Swords. With the Eight of Swords, we again have the topic of blindness. One eye seems to be just white and blind, and the other is covered. And the person is in chains and holding a rooster, interestingly, and also being surrounded by swords. But it doesn't look like the person is in danger. I don't get the feeling that, like in the Eight of Swords, the person is, trapped and in danger. It kind of looks like there is a way out and the person knows it, like almost like a veteran or something like that, an aged veteran, knowing how to get out of the situation, MacGyver it with a rooster. I love it. So that is quite interesting. We don't have this idea of helplessness, I have the feeling. It's more in power. And then again, with the King of Swords, we also have one blind eye, which I feel like is a representation of the mastery of this half blindness that sometimes the Suit of Swords has coming with it, this idea of not being able to see certain things, not being able to take the perspective of other people, or not being able to step outside of yourself. So this is what I see with the King of Swords being represented here, mastering that and seeing other people's perspectives as well as your own and being able to sort of balance those. So with the Nine of Pentacles, we're moving on to the Pentacles now. We have a person walking through a green, lush environment being surrounded by three crows. Now, the animals in this tarot deck with the whole Numen idea are basically seen as sacred creatures. So they sort of represent the religions that were founded based on animals in like thousands of years ago. And I think that is quite interesting how people and animals interact here, especially if you compare it to the Ten of Pentacles, which I feel like the 9 and the 10 go very well together, because again, you just have dogs in this image, in this 10 of Pentacles. You don't have humans, not this idea of legacy, not this idea of the very human family usually being shown. And I like that because that boils it down to something more than humans, to something more than this idea of having a legacy, having children, having material possessions, having a house, that a lot of the time I feel like the Ten of Pentacles really focuses on. So in this case, it's just three dogs basically enjoying themselves, and 10 Pentacles also being shown here. And I think it has a more happy or more essential meaning than the 10 of Pentacles often does with these three dogs, depending on what your connection to dog symbolism is. And then lastly, I just want to talk about the King and the Queen of Pentacles, which I find very entertaining. That they both look unentertained. That's the thing. They both look kind of bored. So you have this idea of waiting, of having patience, of not taking everything and impulsively reacting to it. So that's a very new turn, I feel, on the Queen and King of Pentacles, because usually they are often associated with like, oh, you have to be responsible, you take care of others, you provide for others. Whereas with these two, I feel like they're more relaxed, you know? They're like, everyone can do their own thing. I'm gonna do my own thing. Everything will be fine. And sort of not being proactive in any way, but just resting and being reactive for a little bit in this world, which can be a very good pointer, because oftentimes people are maybe too proactive, think too much, do too much, and just leaning back and letting things happen for you, as signified by the Queen and King of Pentacles here, can be nice as well. Okay, so we only have the two bonus cards left. I don't want to speak about them too much. I feel like everyone can sort of make up their own meanings about it. We have the White Numen, which looks like a bull, on top of which there is a bird made of gold. And it's just a lot of interesting symbols coming together. And we have the Black Numen, which has two dogs in the middle of, again, some, I feel, ceremonial magic setup happening. So both are very interesting. I'm not going to get too deep into the symbols because there are many, but once again, this is giving me really like ceremonial, sacred, magical vibes, and I really love it. So that's that. That was the White Numen Tarot, guys. I hope you enjoyed this. I did. I feel like I never know if my deep dives are deep enough, but I talk so much, but then I think, oh, but I could have talked about that and that and that, but I don't want to bore you too much by making this like an hour-long video. So yes, thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you think about the White Numen Tarot. Let me know what you thought of my ideas and my symbol interpretations of it, and we'll see what happens. We'll see what the comment section is like. Thank you so much. And follow me on Instagram if you want to see more of me, or just subscribe to my channel if you like this video. I do a lot of different witchcrafty, tarot-y stuff. So look at it, and I will see you very, very soon.